second point, be yourself. There's a big difference between talking about ourselves and being ourselves. You have to only to the extent that you know yourself, actually can you be yourself. That's it. Only to the extent that do we know ourselves, can we be ourselves, but we are our most productive and our most effective when we are operating in a sense where we are being true to ourselves. So, for instance, all of us grow up in families. I grew up in a family. The role I played in my family was kind of like a mediating role. Well, the obvious thing is it really kind of prepared me to be a therapist. I resolved, maintain the conflicts, some of you can relate, between my parents, and I became a master peacemaker. I always thought I could have been like a negotiator in some of the conflicts, that go on all around. But the interesting thing that happened for me, and then going into the ministry was the perfect thing, because unfortunately, in a lot of ministry and religion, it's a lot of acronyms, right? It's like politics or something where, people aren't necessarily as interested in you being your completely authentic self. But what I grew to realize was that role really limited me, because what it precluded for me was being more direct, telling the truth, being confrontational, because those were not skills that my family system required for me. The role I played was just very narrow, but I didn't understand it. And so in being myself, though at times I thought I was being sincere, the truth was I was not being true to myself, because there were things that I felt that I wouldn't say. And as I began to grow as a person, I began to recognize that I need to look deeper inside myself and sometimes see past the roles that I might play to find out what it is that I really think is true. And I began to see in my life that I was most attracted to those people, one, who were most genuine or who were authentic and who told the truth. And even though at times it might be a little shocking from what if you ask someone, well, how did you like it? And you said, well, I didn't like it. And let me tell you why. At first, it was very offensive. It's like, whoa, you don't say that. My mom always taught me that maybe you were the same, that if someone serves you something, how'd you like it? You always say it was wonderful or find something to praise about it. But then I realized that wasn't being genuine. So this idea of being yourself, when your life is dependent on networking and relationships and sales, though obviously there are things about being polite or whatever, you will be and we will be our most potent selves and most attracted to others when we are being ourselves. Being yourself ultimately involves knowing yourself, and being true to yourself is really the heart of integrity. So when you think about an interaction, like even today, the thing that I notice at times is I get distracted because I feel self-conscious. I want to be liked. I want to make a good impression. I want to do all these different kinds of things, and sometimes that takes me away from myself. So being able to engage meaningfully with other people while focusing on ourselves, I think, is very important.